Hello everybody, in today's episode I will show you how to change the inner tie rod and the outer tie rod. On this Volkswagen Passat B6, doesn't matter the year, it can be the earliest model or the latest models. It's the same for all of them. First, what we have to do is to lift the car up and remove the wheel. After you put the wheel aside, I will show you today two methods on how to remove them. So this is the inner tie rod and this is the outer tie rod. And to remove them, you have one bolt down here and you will need a special tool to remove the outer tie rod from the joint. I will show you in a moment how to do all of these things. And the special tool is this one. It's a very good tool. You have to put it under the outer tie rod, and after that you have to use a key or an impact gun to screw it, and after that the outer tie rod will pops out. You have to use an 18mm socket to remove the nut from under the outer tie rod, and using an impact gun it's 10 times easier. I just removed the nut from under the outer tie rod, and now I will use the special tool which will help me to remove the outer tie rod from its joint. Just follow what I'm doing here. After that you have to take a hammer and hammer it a little, and it will pop right out. And as you guys can see, the tie rod is very loose. This is meaning that it's out of life and you have to change it. To unscrew the outer tie rod, what we have to do is to take 222 key, and after that you have to screw it back by hand, and then to unscrew it completely you have to count how many turns you will have until it's coming out completely. So I'm going to count right now with you. Just follow me. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 and a quarter, 19 and a half, something like that. You have to count the turns, and after that, when you're installing the new outer tie rod, you have to install it back in the same way. You have to count 19 turns. Just look how loose this outer tie rod is. This is why we have to change it. And this play that it has, it's feeling when you're turning the wheel left and right, and it's also feeling when you're crossing over the bumps. Now what you have to do is to take a set of pliers and remove the metal clip which is holding the dust cover from not moving around. You have to remove the metal clip and pull it out from the dust cover, and after that you'll be able to remove the dust cover and have access behind and next to the steering column. So now it comes the difficult part. You will have another metal clip inside there which is holding the dust cover mounted onto the inner tie rod, and to remove it you will have to use a flat screwdriver, a long flat screwdriver, and after you remove it you will have access to the screw which is holding the inner tie rod mounted onto the steering box. This is the metal part that I'm talking about, and when you're trying to install it back onto the new inner tie rod, you will have to use a long set of pliers because the space is so small that you can't fit a normal set of pliers there. Okay, now from under the car you'll have this little space where you can put your key. You will have to use a key like this. I will show you in a moment. You will have to use this key in order to remove it. I already used it and it came out very easy. I untied it and right now I can turn it by hand. As you guys can see, this is loose. You can turn it by hand and remove it completely. And from what I can see, even this inner tie rod is very loose. You can turn it by hand. It has a lot of play in it, and also this one will cause you a lot of noise and a lot of play into the steering wheel when you're turning to the left and right. As you guys can see, I already installed both of the pieces back together, the inner and the outer tie rod. I counted 19.5 times, and after that I tightened the bolt back. So this is good to go. Even by doing this, you will have to go with the car to an alignment shop because you want the alignment to be perfectly. By doing this, it will not be perfectly, but it will help you and it will keep the car on the road, if we have to say it like that. After that, you have to put the inner tie rod back onto its place. Don't forget to put the metal clip. Just thread it back onto the steering box by hand, and when you can't thread it no more, you have to use the special key that I showed you earlier and tighten it how much you can. Normally, for this kind of situations, it will be a special tool that you will have to use, but I don't have it for the moment, and in my case I'm using the Allen key. So from what I can tell, this new inner tie rod, it's very good, it's in a very good condition, it's very stiff. This is how it needs to be. If I put it in one specific direction, it's staying right there. Now let's go under the car and tighten everything back together. So I looked around through my tools and I found this key. I found this 36mm key, and I used it to tighten the inner tie rod back onto the steering box. It helped me a lot because it's very easy with this one. You can also buy this size, it's a 36mm, to tie your inner tie rod back onto the steering box. Now what we have to do is to take the metal clips and put it back together over the dust cover and tighten everything back together. This is how it should look after you put everything back together. In my case, I installed everything back together properly. I installed the dust cover and the metal part over the steering box. And now what you have to do is to take a set of pliers and squeeze the metal part until you're feeling that it's not coming out. You don't want to squeeze it too hard because you can break it, but also you don't want to squeeze it just a little, because if you don't squeeze it enough, if you don't bend the metal part enough, the dust cover can come out, and after that the rocks and the dust will go inside the inner joint, the inner tie rod, and it will destroy it prematurely. Just make sure you are installing both of the metal parts from the dust cover back together. Don't forget anything loose. After that you have to move the wheel a little in order to make the outer tie rod fit properly onto the joint. After it goes inside the joint, you have to secure it with the bolt that is provided into the kit. The job is the same for the both sides. Onto the driver's side, it's a little difficult because the space from around the dust cover, it's even smaller than on this side, and you will have to use a longer set of pliers to tighten back the metal clip from the dust cover. This is all you have to do in order to change the inner and the outer tie rod. Thank you for watching. If you like this video and found it informative, please leave a like and a comment down below. See you next time.